The Final Boss is back. It's go time. Season 3 is here. Are you tuning in? Every Sunday is Sitting Down Sundays with The Final Boss. Get ready for an inspiring journey as we dive deep into the transformation from the nation's capital to the entertainment capital of the world. This is the conversation that will ignite your dreams and fuel your ambitions. What you'll experience: game-changing insights from industry leaders, real talk about making impossible dreams possible, the blueprint for leveling up your life, motivation that hits different. This isn't just another podcast episode. This is your wake-up call to greatness. Don't just listen, absorb, don't just hear. Transform, don't just dream, execute. Drop a like in the comments if you're ready to level up with us.
Welcome. Welcome to the Final Boss podcast. Sitting Down Sunday with the Final Boss. Thank you for joining us. And tonight, we have a great show for you. Listen up. Man, we got a great show for you tonight. We're going to discuss a few things that we've kind of like discussed in the past. But we're going to do some hypothetical, right? We're going to have some hypothetical situations and thinking along with that to improve the story. So, to my Final Bosses, my smarts, my warriors, my motivators, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. This is episode number 122. On our way to episode number 200. On our way to episode number 200. And guess what, man? Guess what? My team won. I hope your team won too. Listen, shout out to the Los Angeles Rams. Let's give them a hand. Woo! For pulling off that win today. I hope your team won, but if it didn't, I apologize in advance for that. But if your team didn't win, it's all good, right? It's all good. They're slated to win someday, and they will. They will. I'm sure they will. But man, look, before we get into our scheduled program and the admin notes, let me give you guys the greeting of the day. And here it is, the greeting of the day. To everyone who is watching, no matter where you are, all over the world, thank you for joining us. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. And welcome to the Final Boss podcast. I am the Final Boss, and I am here. And we're going to get right into it, man. We got tonight's show. Please, everyone out there, please continue to like, share, subscribe, all of our content. I know I'm flushing content. I send out at least 10 posts a day. 10 posts a day, that's 300 posts a month. That's what is that yearly? That's 3,600 posts a year, right? 3,600 posts a year for the most part. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah. Average about, give or take. But yeah, man, thank you for joining us. And look, like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. All of the content, whenever you see it, wherever you see it. We're on TikTok. We're on Twitch. We're on Kick. We're on Instagram. We're on Lock. We're on LinkedIn, Facebook, Spotify. And recently, we're on Podpage, and the website should be up next week. So look out for the website. The website is coming down the pipe very soon. And we're going to get right into it, man. Let's get into the brass tacks of the evening. The brass tacks of the evening is coming from Sebastian Throughron. And tonight's brass tacks, and here it is. The true power of AI lies not in replacing humans, but in working alongside us to achieve what neither can be done alone. That is tonight's brass tacks, and that lets you know right there what we're going to be discussing. We're going to be discussing AI, one of my favorite subjects, but not the way you think we're going to be discussing it. And it's never about bashing AI. Tonight, we're going to be talking about how it's assisting a lot of employers and CEOs to take business to the next level. Right? So let's see who we have here. Who's here? All right. Okay. It's interesting. Looks like we're missing some folks, but nonetheless, I might have to phone a friend real quick or tap. Hopefully they get that message. Hopefully they get that message. So we got the brass tacks out the way. Listen, this is for entertainment purposes only. This is for entertainment purposes only. Entertainment purposes only. Yeah. And tonight's title, The Replaceable Millionaire. Listen. The Replaceable Millionaire. That's what we're going to be talking about. And of course, I'm your host. And tonight's not a regular show, man. Something that's it might make some people uncomfortable. But that's what we're here. We're here to make people uncomfortable. This is about the deep, uncomfortable conversations. That's what we do on the Final Boss podcast. We have the deep, uncomfortable conversations, right? Let's say you have a hypothetical situation, right? Hypothetical situation. And actually, you know what? It's probably this situation is probably happening in many boardrooms all over the world. So I have this hypothetical that I was thinking about, right? Suppose you're in this you're having a conversation, you're at work, right? You in corporate, and you're having a conversation in the boardroom, and you're talking to a guy who works for the company, and he makes millions of dollars for the company, right? And this gentleman, he's let's say he makes 2.3 million a year, right? And there are jobs that people work for that make this type of money. If you're not familiar with it, you need to go watch the show Billions or go watch well, I think it's the other one. It's called Succession. Go check out those shows, man. They're millionaires working for billionaires to help make the billionaire make more billions. So hypothetical, like say he makes about 2.3 mil, right? And he has a corner office. He gets his 6-figure bonus, the whole nine, right? And you're having a conversation with him. And you know what he says? He says to you, mind you, he makes 2.3 million a year. He has the comfy office in a corner. And again, he has a 6-figure bonus plan. And he's having a conversation with you, right? And he's telling you, hey man, I'm scared AI is going to replace me, right? And you say to yourself, wait a minute, bro, sir, ma'am, whoever, brother, sister, you make 2.3 million and you thinking yourself replaceable? How so? And you thinking. So you let them continue their conversation, right? And at the same time, you're thinking, man, I know entrepreneurs who run and own their own business, and they're probably making like 150 a year or something like that, or even less, who are absolutely irreplaceable. Absolutely irreplaceable. The business would not function without that CEO, right? You see the difference in that? The difference is one thinks like an employee, even though he makes 2.3 million a year. He thinks like an employee with a big paycheck. The other, the CEO of the company, of a company, may make 150. He might even make $50,000 a year. But he's the final boss, right? So today, we're going to be breaking that down, and I'm calling it the $10 million pivot, right? The $10 million pivot. And why being easy to work with is making you invisible, and how to become strategically difficult to replace. If you've been playing chess and being a pawn in the workplace or in the world, it's time for you to be the queen on the board. So, smarts, final bosses, motivators, warriors, man, let's get into it. Let's get into it. But before we dive deep, let's talk about what I see right now from my point of view. As is right now, September 2025, which makes this conversation urgent because time is moving, and it's moving fast, right? And here's a harsh reality. Amazon just cut layers of middle management. Spirit Airlines slashed 25% of their capacity. 72% of businesses are now using AI, up from 20% from a few years ago. And here's the kicker. The entrepreneurs who are winning aren't the ones fighting AI. They're the ones who's becoming impossible to ignore because of AI. Hey, Jagani, welcome. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yes. Let's have an awesome show tonight. Absolutely. So I gave you guys the hypothetical in the beginning. Now we're talking about, I just dropped some actual facts, and I'm going to tie it all in. So stay with me. All right. There's a shift that's happening. While everyone's worried about being replaced, final bosses, motivators, warriors, and smarts, they're asking a different question. They're asking, how do I become more valuable? How do I become more valuable? That people would rather build around me than replace me. And that's the $10 million question. That's the $10 million mindset shift. And we're going to be unpacking it today, right? So let me tell you something. We go back to the hypothetical situation about the gentleman or the young lady who was making 2.3 million a year with the cushy office, with the 6-figure bonus plan, and they are afraid of AI. They're afraid, right? But you have the CEO who owns his own business, but he's not making a lot of money, and how he's irreplaceable, right? Yeah, that's what we get into. So gave you guys a little bit of the hypothetical, right? So I've been talking about this chess piece mentality and how I personally was thinking to myself that I no longer wanted to be a chess piece. I wanted to be the board, right? But before you can become the board, you have to become the highest and most important piece on the chessboard. And high earners are still thinking like chess pieces, right? They're still thinking like chess pieces. They're still employees. They wait for someone to tell them the next move. They follow established patterns. They're excellent at their position, but terrible at seeing the whole board. This is why I said I didn't want to be a part of the chess pieces anymore. I wanted to be the board, to run the entire thing. They can see things. When you're running the board, you can see things from a different level. Your purview changes, right? Stay with me. They're optimized for efficiency, not impact, right? But 10 million entrepreneurs, right? $10 million entrepreneurs, they're not chess pieces. They're chess masters. They see, and here's why. They see the moves others can't see. They create the game instead of playing it. Hence, being part of the board, being of the board, right? They build systems. The board is a system. They build systems where they have the strategic advantage. When you're the board, you control the system. You can have full strategic advantage, right? You're no longer a chess piece. They also make themselves difficult to replace by being impossible to replicate. And here's how, right? Here's a truth bomb to that. Hold on. That was pretty good. That was absolutely pretty good. All right. A lot of people's biggest fears right now is being replaced. Not only being replaced by humans, but being replaced by AI. And if you already have that mindset, then you've already lost. You've already lost. See, it's a mindset thing. The goal isn't to be irreplaceable because you're necessary. It's to be irreplaceable because you're legendary. And you want to know how you become legendary? Of course you want to know, because yes, I hear you. I know you want to know. By applying the 6 pillars of success. But that's a whole different story. That's not tonight's show. We're not talking about the 6 pillars of success tonight. We're talking about becoming legendary. We're talking about becoming the board. We're talking about seeing and becoming legendary. Right? So you have to start with the mindset. The mindset of stop asking yourself how to keep your job. You need to start asking how to become the reason other people have jobs, right? That's the difference between an employee thinking and a owner thinking. That's the difference. Now, when you incorporate AI into this conversation, right? Because that's where we're going mostly, right? It's AI. So let's talk about it. And this is where people are getting it backwards. They're taking the wrong approach. People are saying and asking themselves, how can I protect myself from AI? Where they should be asking, how can I use AI to amplify what makes me impossible to replace? Mindset, right? Remember, AI handles data. You handle insight. AI executes your vision 10 times faster than you, sometimes 20, even more, even faster. But it needs you and your insight to implement. AI can't replicate the relationships and trust that you build in the corporate world. It can't replace that. At least not anyway. I don't, I don't, that's another subject. We get into that another time. But real talk, man. AI is making average entrepreneurs invisible. This is true. But it's making exceptional entrepreneurs superhuman. The question is, which one are you? Which one are you? Right? And I like to do my own research and develop different protocols, theories, and principles. And I've actually just finished a major project that I'm gonna tell you guys about. And in it, I have a lot of different of principles and practices and theories that I've developed from this very, very show, The Final Boss. I sure did, right? And I'll tell you about that. So tonight, I developed a little something called, I love acronyms. It's the military in me, man. It's the military in me. I'm always coming up with all types of crazy acronyms. And here's an acronym. I'm going to call this acronym the R.E.I.G.N method. That's R.E.I.G.N. R.E.I.G.N method. Romeo, Echo, Indiglue, Golf, November. Yeah. Indigo. I think that's it. Yeah. The R.E.I.G.N method. So, final bosses, motivators, warriors, smarts. Here's the framework to that. Here's the framework that would separate you from that low level mindset to you becoming a high level, having a high level mindset, because it all starts in the mind. Right? And I call this the R.E.I.G.N method. R, Romeo, right? Let's talk about it's a relationship ownership. And this is how you can improve and use AI skills to improve, to elevate your skill set. Relationship ownership, Romeo, R. Don't just serve clients. And you can take that across the board. You can use this for your own personal relationship. You have to own the relationship ecosystem. Be the person that they can't imagine doing business without. You have to be that person. E, Echo, exclusive value creation. Create value that only you can create, right? Only you can create. Not because you're the only one who knows how, but because you're the only one who sees what needs to be done. And this can be applied to relationships, right? I know it's wild, right? Watch how I break it down. I'm going to break it down. Watch how I break it down. Igloo, irreplaceable systems. Think about building systems that work without you, but work better because of you. That's how AI works. Let your fingerprints should be on the pulse of the strategy and not just the execution. So that means you're all in, right? I hope you guys are taking great notes too, man. G, golf. Game-changing vision. Stop solving problems that exist. And this is where true value comes in at. Start solving problems that don't exist yet, because you're using foresight to see the entire board. Because you can see the entire board, now you can identify the problems before they exist. And think about it this way. If you solve a problem before it exists, now you've saved your company or your relationship a lot of different equities, sweat equity or capital equity. It all depends on how you're applying. And I'm telling you, this stuff can be applicable to many different situations. In November, network amplification. Your network isn't just who you know, it's who you trust or who trusts you enough to take risks based off your recommendations, right? Now, ask yourself, out of these five, because there's five letters: Romeo, Echo, Indigo, Golf, November, five. Which of these five are your strongest characteristic? Which one is keeping you replaceable? Drop it in the comments. And this applies to relationships too, because let me tell you, there's nothing like being in a relationship and knowing for a fact that what you've done makes yourself valuable or irreplaceable. Because what are they going to do after you? What? I'm sorry, but that's the that's the truth. What are they going to do after you, man? Oh, that's kind of weird. Yeah. So you have to make yourself irreplaceable. And I gave you guys a hypothetical earlier. Here's another hypothetical that I was thinking about, right? Think about an individual. Let's say she's making 150K, and she let's say she owns a marketing company, right? She owns a marketing company. No, let's say she works for a company doing marketing. Yeah, she works for a company. She does marketing or social media marketing for a company, which is a job that a lot of people can do. It doesn't take that skill set with the prevalence of so many different social media platforms, so many different certifications out there, and even degrees. That those positions can be replaceable, right? But let's say this young lady made a pivot, and she decided that instead of just running social media, she started predicting which tech trends would impact her clients the most in advance. 3 months, 6 months. She was able to see down the line because she has her finger on the post and she's embedded and she can see the board, right? And then, like I say, she used AI to analyze pattern data. And she was able to start developing strategic interpretations, right? And through those strategic interpretations, she was able to uh, um, increase her value, right? So now she's not just a marketing person or a marketing social media person. She's become more than that. And now the CEOs of said company are calling her when they need to pivot, because through her analytical skills, she's able to provide them business strategies for the entire business, applying same skills, but now she has a different value proposition. She didn't learn new skills. She just applied existing skills to a bigger problem. And that's the $10 million pivot. She made herself more valuable to the company. Instead of just being a marketing person, she developed a skill set that she already had, but because of AI, she was able to enhance that skill set, and provide strategic analytical data for the company for 3 6 months down the road. And now her CEO and all these other C-suite individuals have her on first name basis. They're contacting her because she's providing extreme value to the company. Now, I gave you guys two hypotheticals, right? Stay with me. Now, when I say difficult to replace, I'm not talking about being difficult to work with. No, that's toxic. That's toxic thinking. What I'm saying is what makes you, and that level of thinking makes you unemployable. So if that's the way you think, look, it's time to change your mindset, right? I'm talking about being strategically essential. Strategically essential. Toxic, difficult people are hard to work with. And this is for relationships too. This goes for relationships too, because you can apply this to your relationship. Toxic people are hard to deal with or hard to work with. They create problems more than solution. They gatekeep and hoard information. And you best believe they love to burn bridges, right? They love to burn bridges. And there's another side to that where a toxic person can be strategic, right? So you have to understand that part of it too, but that we're not going to talk about that tonight. And you can have a person whose mindset is strategic difficulty, right? And they're hard to work without. These people solve problems others can't see, like the scenario I just mentioned. They create exclusive value. They're doing something that nobody else is doing, providing analytical, strategic data that's very necessary for the organization, which brings more value and into the company. And these individuals build bridges that others don't and others need, right? And here's the final boss difference. This is for my final bosses, my motivators, my smarts, and my warriors. You want to be the person where when someone thinks about replacing you, their first thought is, how do we build an entire company around keeping this person happy? Right? That's who you want to be. Because if they can replace you with a manual and 2 weeks of training, you don't have an entrepreneur mindset. You're an expensive employee with a business card. So that's the difference. That's the difference. Right? So I've given you two hypotheticals and a few different situations. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about what I believe what most entrepreneurs and business owners get wrong about being irreplaceable. It's not about what you do. It's about who trusts you. You ever, a lot of us, I've seen it, I've witnessed it. You ever seen a person who you work with and that individual never gets anything done, but they're trustworthy? I know you've seen that. Drop it in the chat. I know you've seen that. They don't complete tasks. They're not very good at completing tasks, but they're trustworthy. Now that trust may come from they like snitching on everybody. They might be tattletales. Tattletales is crazy. I'm gonna throw a flag on that play. Red tattletales on the play. Red flag for tattletales. But listen, they're trustworthy because they're out there, they're snitching on everyone, but they don't complete tasks. And they will be the last person standing. You say to yourself, wow, they never did any work. But they were always telling on people all the time. Everybody else fired, but they still there. Now, I'm telling you, man, that's a thing. And I know you know what I'm talking about. So you have to see yourself above, right? You have to see yourself above. You have to become the person who can connect with the right people at the right time. You have to be a networker, right? You have to be a go-getter. And in that, you become the center of that particular ecosystem. But that's just part of it. You have to have a decent reputation, right? Your reputation should precede you into rooms you've never been in. You've there's a saying that's a lot of people are saying right now, where people are taking up for you or your name in rooms that you're not in. Yeah. That's not just networking. That's personal amplification. And that points back to your reputation, right? You have to start thinking, how can I create value for my network, right? And you have to look at it from a perspective that you're creating value that has nothing to do with the business. You have to become impossible to replace. You become impossible to ignore because you're able to see, like I said in the beginning, you're able to see the full game. You're able to see past the pieces on the board. And here's something that's fascinating. Something fascinating that happened this year, right? Entrepreneurs in the global south are outperforming traditional markets in sustainability and sustainability metrics. And you want to know why? Of course you do. I know you want to know why. Stay with me. Because they're solving real problems, not convenient problems. And I mentioned on a one of my episodes before how to be more proactive and instead of being just a fireman, right? A lot of jobs, people are they're reactive instead of being proactive. They're firemen. They're putting out the fires instead of tackling the fires that caused the fire, or tackling whatever that caused the fire to burn anyway. They're just there to put out the fire, right? And you know, Gen Z, we've been trending here lately, and we've been trending here lately. Everybody's talking about Gen Z. Well, 20%, 24% of Gen Z entrepreneurs are prioritizing world impact over pure profit. If you can solve profitable problems that matter, you're not just building a business, you're building a movement. Hence, the Final Boss and the Final Boss Nation. And my smarts, my final bosses, my warriors, my motivators. A movement. We're building movements. And we're on this journey together. That's what makes you impossible to replace. And I know you're thinking, damn, Final Boss done it again. I need to pivot. But you don't know how. How do you transition from replaceable to irreplaceable without destroying what you already have? Right? You have to do it. As I said before in my last episode, go check out my last episode. These movements of succession are micro progressions, micro, right? And in this, you can have gradual pivots. You could do a gradual pivot strategy, right? Gradual. Starting today. Start observing for the next 1 to 2 months. This is how you build a strategy. And this goes for relationships too. This goes for your relationship. You're having problems in your relationship? This is applicable. This is you want to apply this to corporate? This could be applied. This is very much so applied to corporate. Study your clients' biggest strategic challenges for the next 1 to 2 months. Write it down. Identify, right? Then from there, you start having conversations about future problems, not just current ones. And how do you do that? You're able to do that because if you identify the current problems, you can foresee what possibly can be the problems that are for the future. That goes for relationships too. Start writing down problems you see in your relationship. But if your relationship has 1 to 2 months in it, it may not. But for the next couple of weeks, start taking notes of the problems you see in your relationship and start forecasting, seeing what can be the problem in the future. The problem in the future could be you could be breaking up with this individual. Y'all could be going through a divorce. But you're able to see it and you scale it back. Maybe there's some hope. Right? So you start adding strategic insight to those current deliverables. Become the person who explains why and not just what. You start predicting not only industry shifts, but you start predicting their behavioral patterns. And you start to recognize things that you see they're either causing them to be irritable, agitated, cause for argument, across the board. I can go on. But now you're developing a plan and you see it, right? And you position yourself in a transformative mode or transformative mode. You start to say, it's time to change. And you position yourself as a strategic advisor, right? And not just a service provider. Now, I'm talking about work, but it can be applied. You start adding value as you increase your insight and value. And we're not talking about just work value. Become the person they call before they have problems. You want to fix your relationship? Become the person they call before they have problems. Right? That's how you become irreplaceable. And here's the final boss moment. You're dealing with clients. Your clients start asking you for your opinion on decisions that have nothing to do with your original service. That's when you know you've made your pivot, right? That's when you know. And one of the biggest barriers to becoming irreplaceable isn't skill, it's mindset. I talk about mindset all the time. It's mindset. You have to change your mindset. Most entrepreneurs are still thinking about job security instead of strategic advantage. Chess pieces look for job security. Being part of the board, you're part of the system, you can create strategic advantage. Chess pieces say, how do I protect what I have? How do I protect the queen? When you're the board, you say, how do I become what others need to have? That's how you have strategic advantage. Stop asking how to be safe, man. Stop being safe. Start asking how to be essential. Safety is an illusion. Safety is a surefire way to get you replaced. Value is like a fortress and it has foundation. You are irreplaceable. Your greatest competition isn't in the marketplace, it's in the mirror. When you become impossible to replace, you stop worrying about competition and start creating it. When you truly find in yourself and know yourself to be the problem, that's when you develop and can see that your number one enemy is your inner me. And that's when you have to be a villain to the bad guy, right? That's when you have to be a villain to the bad guy in the mirror, because that's where that battle takes place. Don't let this just be more yibby, whatever people say on these different podcasts, man. Stay with me, because I need you guys to be engaged. I need you guys to be a part of this Final Boss Nation. I need you just like you need me. We're both irreplaceable in this. And we're on this journey together. We're on this journey together to be a better me, to be a better you in all aspects of life. You can't just be better here and not be better over here, because you're still lacking. I had a, I had a good friend of mine tell me today, and shout out to her, man. Shout out to Christy. I appreciate you, man. You know, she said, you have this going on, you have this going, you're doing, this is good, this is good, this is good. You have these 5 things that are doing really well. You're doing good in these 5 areas. But it's this one that just this one thing, right? I'm not going to say what the one thing is, but it's just one thing. It's one thing that keeps being problematic. And you can't ignore it. And what that one thing does, that one thing has the potential to overshadow the other 5 things that you're successful at. Right? And here's another hypothetical, right? Say, suppose, here's a hypothetical. You're doing really well in business. You're doing really well with your finances. You're doing really well and adding value to the world. You're doing really well with family. You're doing really well with your continuing education and building a legacy for not only you, but for but for others after you. You're doing all those things well, but you have one problem, and that one problem is a relationship. You can't just get it right, and that's that one problematic thing can be the biggest thing to overshadow the other 5. And I'm telling you, each one of these are interchangeable. But since we're talking about relationships, people, when you're successful, people look at you different when, and it doesn't matter because let me start that all over, because a lot of people say, oh, their opinions don't matter, right? But opinions do matter to a degree, right? To a degree. In business, being in a relationship or being married shows that not only are you trustworthy, you're dependent, you have the ability to take on responsibility outside of business and personal matters. Business people like to deal with other business people who are married. That's a fact. You can look it up. Statistically speaking, this is 100% true. You can look it up right now. But it goes even deeper than that. When you're having conversations and people see that you're and successful in all these things, but then they look over here and say, "Hey, what's wrong with you?" That's what they ask. What's wrong with you? Why can't you get it together? There are plenty of single people out here that both, if whatever you're into, if you're successful all over here, but you can't get it right over here, then they start looking at you different. Like, what is wrong with you? Why can't you get it right? There's somebody for everybody. Are you not taking the time? Are you not being patient? And all the conversation is list long. Trust me, I could write a book on it. Like, for real. The conversation is long. You can write a book on that topic right there alone. You truly can. But that's just some of the things that I'm telling you people see and they can identify, and it makes them question whether or not they will do business with you. And unfortunately, this is the way of life. You know, unfortunate. But I hope you guys were able to see how I brought value and how AI can bring value to something you're already doing, which essentially can be the very thing that makes you irreplaceable, right? Use it for what it's worth. Use it for what it's meant to be used for. Use it for what it's meant to be used for. Increase your value. Utilize it as like a business partner who could run analytics and data and shows you strategic plans and helps you develop strategic plans a lot faster than you can, 10 to 20 times faster. Utilize it for that, right? And before we wrap up tonight, I hope, like all of my episodes, I hope each and every last one of them hit different. I hope you see the value in what I'm bringing, because I'm not bringing what the social media trends are. I'm not bringing these different topics that people are constantly talking about. They're just regurgitating one after another. And they're just wrapped up in this huge echo chamber. And now that echo chamber is a vacuum, right? I'm bringing something different. And I hope you see the value in that. To my smarts, to my final bosses, to my motivators, to my warriors, having this thought process is how you are in the community. This is how you are part of the Final Boss community and the Final Boss Nation. All of you are part of the Final Boss Nation right now, right? I need you guys to go make sure you like, share, subscribe to the podcast. Like, share, subscribe. We're dropping strategic intelligence every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And we're on all platforms with more to come. All platforms. Tomorrow is Motivation Monday. Motivation Monday, which I love to talk about motivation. Tomorrow's Motivation Monday, right? Share your wins. Share your wins within the community. If you have a win, hashtag Final Bosses, hashtag Smarts, hashtag Warriors, hashtag Motivators, right? Hashtag the Final Boss. Let's tone it. Let's bring it all together. Let's bring the community together, man, so we can expand even further. And here's my final word before we go. I started this episode with talking about a hypothetical situation about a someone, male, female, doesn't matter, who was making 2.3 million a year as an executive in a corner office with a six-figure cushion or a six-figure bonus plan, right? And I started with them having a conversation with you because they're afraid of being replaced, right? But here's the thing. As final bosses, motivators, warriors, and smarts, your income isn't determined by how hard you work. It's determined by how impossible you are to ignore. Stop competing on price. Start competing on irreplaceability. Stop being the best at what everyone else does and start being the only person who does what you do. And if this was tomorrow for Motivation Monday, that will be bars. But since it's not, that is bars. We're going to say that's bars. The world doesn't need another entrepreneur who's good at everything. The world needs entrepreneurs who are legendary at something that matters. And that's the $10 million pivot. And that's final boss thinking. And that's thinking like the board instead of chess pieces. This has been the Final Boss Podcast. I am the Final Boss. And until next time, which will be tomorrow for Motivation Monday at 9 p.m., Remember, your biggest enemy isn't your competition. It's your inner me. Stay strategic, stay irreplaceable, stay final boss. And also remember this. And you need to let all this marinate in your spine. First of all, let it marinate in your spine. There's a hefty pain that comes with discipline, but the pain of regret is always heavier. The pain of regret is always heavier. And with that, I bid you adieu. I am the final boss, and I am here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Be balanced, be equal, and be smart. Y'all have a great evening. Go finish watching football. The games were phenomenal. I'm so happy my team won today. I'm ecstatic. And look, man, I see y'all tomorrow for Motivation Monday at 9 p.m. Remember, like, share, subscribe. We're building a community. Share the information. Stop gatekeeping, people. Stop gatekeeping. Share the information. And that's all I have, man. Y'all have a great one. See you tomorrow. Take care.